Welcome to this videos, where knowledge meets inspiration and curiosity sparks transformation. I'm your host, Resoro Mulifi, and each week we embark on a journey of exploration and enlightenment. Join us as we navigate the tapestry of experience, weaving together insights from academic visionaries and changemakers. Get ready to expand your horizon, challenge your perspectives, and embark on a quest for personal and collective growth. This is Visceres, where every episode is a gateway to a world of endless possibilities. Let's get back to the episode. Gudani, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Gudani Munyai, and I'm doing my third year in computer science and mathematics. Yes.
Third year in computer science and mathematics.
Yes.
What is computer science and mathematics actually?
I would say that it's the study of computer science. It focuses mainly on the algorithms, the data structures, the programming, and the software development, and system architecture. Yeah.
So what's the mathematics part about? Because I know computer science is one thing, now there's mathematics now there's a combination, so it's like, it's crazy.
So the mathematical part of it is just like, I would say math in general, but not something, I wouldn't say it's related to what you did in high school or something like that, but you're doing math. I would say you mainly be focusing on proving math as a whole, but even some calculations, but it really involves like the proving of the math and a lot. But I wouldn't say I can define what math is as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for someone who's watching this podcast, what would you like them to have from you or to learn from you that they did not have before, per se?
For someone who's watching,
like a high school student, the first
who
year,
wants to
second
pursue
year,
this degree,
yeah.
I would say that if they really are looking forward to pursuing this degree, they could be working on having some programming background still in high school.
Okay.
Because one thing that I felt like was a disadvantage for me was coming to varsity and doing this degree without any programming background. So I would say they should try and have some background, work on something, try to understand technology, and yeah, that's something that I say they would have that could actually help them in this degree.
Okay. So then actually, where are you from? Like, you didn't expand more on your background. I wanna know actually.
I'm from Limpopo in Gudani.
Yeah.
Yes.
High school?
I went to Gudani High School.
Okay, primary?
I went to my Jersey Primary
Okay.
School.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you're third year?
Yes, I'm a third year.
Okay. So let's say, can you share a moment or experience that solidified your love for computer science and mathematics? Do I have to say it that long, or is that like abbreviation?
I don't know. There's no abbreviation.
Okay.
I don't think there's an abbreviation. I wouldn't say that I do have love for computer science, but I do enjoy computer science a lot. But I would say that I do have my love for mathematics.
Okay.
And a moment that solidified my love for this, I wouldn't say, I have a lot. I really have a lot because I really enjoy doing math. It's not easy. It's kind of hard, but I think that's what makes math interesting. So most of the moments that I would say they solidify my love for math is when I'm doing it with my friends. Like, there's so much enjoyment in it, and there's so much fun in doing so, even if it's hard, that you get to realize that, oh, actually, this is fun. That part that makes it hard is what enables you to even be more interested in what's next in math. So, yeah.
So why did you choose the course? Where did it stem from, actually?
I don't know. I felt like a lot of people were so fascinated about computers. Like, oh, you could actually get a nice job. Like, it's really a degree that will enable you to get a job that you want, or even a good job. So I was like, yeah, one time we were in class applying, and I was like, oh, let's just apply for this.
Why not?
So why not? So yeah, that's where it began from. And I would say my love for math is what actually pushed me to apply for this course. The thing is, it came with computer science. So I was like, okay, let's just take it like this because it has math in between, and that's something that I really enjoy doing.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there like a problematic law or theory or topic or anything that has challenged you so far? Or that is challenging, actually?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say in computer science, I would say there's a module that I'm doing actually. It's called Data Structures and Algorithms. Very challenging, a lot, but it's really fun yet very challenging. I don't want to call it hard, because if you put in the work, you realize how fun it is. But it's very, very challenging. So I would say through my entire course, this one module has been really the one that's really challenging for me.
Has it been there since like first year or?
No, from second year.
From second year.
Yes.
Okay. So what about coding?
I would say that the coding part is something that it's fun to do also. But there's also like the theoretical part of it, which I feel like for me it's much more fun compared to the programming where you just like making codes, be it maybe you're making a mobile app or a website or anything like that. But I would say I really enjoy the theoretical part of computer. And also programming is fun because you get to create something. You could start by creating a calculator or anything small, really. So it's really fun to find out that you can just sit in front of a computer, make codes, and it gives you an output that's basically something, a calculator, or you could code, and when you run it, it just keeps asking you about yourself. Like you could make a code about this interview, like where you can just make a code and then it gives you an output of, hey, what's your name? Where did you study? And you just keep answering it. But to begin with, you begin with making a code. So I would really say it's really fun creating something with codes. Only when you run, you get this. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
So actually, I heard that they are like actually. Let me start off like this. Like, what is coding actually?
What is coding?
What is coding?
From
your house.
I don't know how can I define coding, but you're more like creating something with words, numbers. Like it's just codes. I don't know, like binary numbers. I don't know how to really define coding per se, but you're creating something with words, but like in a way of coding that involves numbers.
Just as you said about the calculator.
Yeah, you could create a calculator with codes. I really don't know how I can define codes, but you could create something with it. That's well, how can I define coding? I honestly don't know. But in my head, I'm like, I know what that is, but I wouldn't be able to explain it.
Okay. Yes. So in a typical exam or something, like, is there a case study they give you guys to say, let, for example, solve this, and how do you, what's the basic examination of computer science student look like actually?
So from first year, you kind of given a problem. They could say, make this. For an example, you could make a calculator. You could make, they'll give you a scenario. Make this, make that. And you just have to just know how to do it. Let me just use the example of a calculator. An exam can come. There's actually more problems. Maybe one of the problems could be you have to make a calculator. That when you have to code to a point where when you run your code, the output must be a calculator where somebody can be able to enter 7 times 5 and it gives them the answer. So in a way, I would say you're given scenarios in exams from first year. I would say the times where I did exams where they required me to make something was when I was doing my first year and I was doing Python and C++, the programming languages. But when I came to do Java, the first semester was the coding part of the Java, but the second semester was the theoretical part of Java. So now I'm not going into an exam where I'm given like this is the scenario. Rather, I'm going in an exam where I'm just calculating the time complexity of those things, like how much time, and I'm getting to write the codes by hand rather than writing it on computer. In a computer, it's very easy, but you have to write that code by your hand in paper. You don't even know if it's going to run. You don't know anything, but you're just like writing it on paper. But the difference between coding it on the computer and writing it by hand is that you do not have to write a whole scenario when you're writing it down. Maybe they could ask you, create a method that would delete something from an array. Let's say I'm given an array 1 to 6. And in the test they will say, create a method that will delete the number 3 from the array.
Okay.
So you can write it down and delete that. Also, the software engineering part of the computer, it's more theoretical. It's one of the modules that has a lot of theory, very enjoyable, where you are taught about what is software engineering, what are the advantages of this. You know, and you're taught about working in groups. You know, you're working in groups, so you're given a project that you're gonna work. Maybe they're gonna say create a chatbot together with your group. Maybe they're gonna say you're gonna create something, a project with your group. Maybe a music something, or maybe like a restaurant thingy. It could be a lot that they can tell you to create, and you just make it with your group. That's the software engineering part, and I really, really enjoy it.
Hands-on.
It's hands-on. You get to work with people, you get to code with people, you get to interact with people. At the end of the day, you have to present that. And the data structures were really challenging and really fun to do. There's just some modules that you would look at as this is a tough one, but it's very enjoyable to do. And you get to realize there's not only computer does not involve around coding, banging a computer all day, but it also has these that you can know what is this and what can you do with it. So yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? Like, how would you rate the difficulty, if I'm asking, according to you, 1 to 10?
I don't want to lie.
Yeah.
It's really challenging.
Yeah.
You just have to put on the work. So I would give it a solid 7.
Solid 7.
Yes.
It's fair though. So like, do I have to practice, like, for example, if I was to do a computer science, I have to practice like every day, do something?
I would say when it comes to your programming skills, make sure that you're doing something every day. Even if it's just coding a code that will give you, that would say enter the number A and B and then plus them, it's fine. It's a simple code, maybe a code that will ask somebody their name. I would say that it's something that you really need to work on. Make sure you code something, even if it's a simple something, that's like helping you to improve your skills in programming, because there isn't much you can do without having a skill of programming in this course. If you don't know how to code, if you don't know how to program, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because even if when they ask you to write the code down, you don't even know how to write it on a computer, how are you going to write it down? And the computer enables you to, it tells you the errors that are there so you can be able to fix. Sometimes it recommends how to fix that error, but when you're writing it down, it doesn't recommend that for you. So I would say that you really, even if you don't like do it every day, but 3 or 4 times a week.
Which is enough.
Which is enough, because you're like, so that you, in a way that you're kind of making your programming skills even more better. Yeah.
So you'll be ahead actually, because.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this: what about let's say competitions? Is there like competitions that you guys enter, whereby you share any programming knowledge with other students? Per se?
I remember there was a programming competition last year that my friends joined. Yeah, so there are the competitions where you can join and win something. Yeah, you could join a competition where you have to make. I remember the one that my friend joined. It required them to make an app that helps students to study.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it kind of makes your studying easy since studying is hard. So yeah, there are competitions where you can join and get to program something challenging, something hard, but really enjoyable, especially if you're doing it in groups. What I've realized about my degree is you can do it alone. Well, if you're good, maybe you can, but as when it comes to making or creating projects, it's so fun when you're doing it in groups. It's really fun knowing that, oh, when I don't get this part, there's somebody who can get this part. When I don't get this part, there's somebody who can understand that part. So, yeah.
So everybody gets knowledge from you. So now we all have knowledge.
We all have knowledge. What you don't know, I know, I share. What I don't know, you share.
So we must not gatekeep information. It's just share.
You can't do this alone. Seek help when needed. Yeah.
So can you, how do you handle this? How do you handle the pressure of, your challenging course? What do you do actually that keeps you motivated?
Organized.
You
stay organized. Because we have a lot of assignments, a lot of tests, a lot of, there's a lot, quizzes. There's, in 1 week you might find yourself drowning in these, and you kind of how am I expected to do this as an individual?
And it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. So how I manage to stay in the track of this and I don't get overwhelmed is the idea that I make sure that I break this task. There are a lot. So maybe today I'm going to break it. They're big also. It's like it's a lot of work. So I don't want to be overwhelmed. I'm breaking the bigger parts into smaller manageable tasks so that it does not have to be hard. I utilize my calendar. I make sure that these dates are recorded there because chances are you might forget. And also having friends. You need to have a group of friends so that you're also able to remember, oh, I really have a test this Tuesday. I have 2 tests on Friday. You know, because you have those people reminding you also. So you need to make a schedule, like make sure and keep to it. Keep to it because if you don't, you're gonna fall behind. Because for an example, last week I was writing about 4 times. There was quizzes, there were tests, there were assignments in the same week. And for me to not feel overwhelmed or break down with such a lot of work, I had to break it down into smaller, manageable tasks. I had to make sure I allocate enough time to the ones that are hard. So it was kind of like you had to stay organized. You had to stay organized because if you don't, you're going to break down. And you're going to kind of give up because it's like, what's the point?
Too much.
It's too much. And if you try to juggle it without breaking it down, you're going to realize that you don't even understand what you're doing most time. You don't even know where it's going. So you need to kind of, you can't even cram it. It's a lot of work. You can't even attempt cramming it. You need to understand. One thing I've realized is the cramming won't work in my course for you because you need to understand what you're doing. If I'm required to prove something, it's much more easier if I understand that proof because there's no way I'm going to forget it. I know after this step, oh, I do this in order to get the next step. But if I have crammed that, chances are after a certain step, I'm going to forget what's the next step because I don't know how to derive that certain formula. But when you know how to, you don't forget it. So don't try it. Don't attempt cramming. You will forget. You'll forget and it's going to be painful knowing that I could have allocated enough time to this, but you chose to try to juggle everything at once. So I would say breaking it down really helps.
And managing your time effectively because the cramming doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Using the CPM method,
Like I'm in the
CPF method.
I've tried cramming once in a while and I get in the test, I'm like, what exactly did I do? Because I can't really remember and it gets frustrating.
Because if you forget one thing, everything's forgotten.
Everything is you might remember the last step, but the steps in between are gone. Meanwhile, if you took time to understand that proof, you would know, oh, after I do this, maybe I need to integrate to get the next step. But when you've crammed, you can't remember that. So, yeah.
So that's the only way to keep ahead of your coursework. You must stay organized.
They always
practice.
Make sure you got a group of study friends. I feel like my friends really helped me a lot in this course because when you need help, you know there are people you can just rely on. You ask help from and you guys help one another. You send questions, you send answers, you help each other solve these questions. And we always make sure that if you have a challenge in something, shout it out. If you have something that can help the group, send it to the group. Maybe, hey guys, I got this proof. Maybe it's much more easier to do and you send it to the group. And it's really fun. It's really fun.
So what about, for example, let's say a lecturer is lecturing and I don't understand a certain concept or what is being taught. What would you do in that situation?
I consult with the lecturer thereafter. Yeah.
After the class, or you send an email, or what do you
After
do?
the class. Most students do this. After the class, you just go to the lecturer and you ask them, hey, I fell behind when you were talking about this and I really didn't understand. And they take time to explain to you, oh, this is the case. I remember one time I was in class and we were doing this proof. I got lost in between the proof, but I let the lecture finish because, honestly speaking, there are some of us who we're not that brave enough to say, raise the hand, hey, say, I really got lost there. So you're like, I gotta wait. I gotta wait until after class. And I really consulted with him and he explained it. And I was like, oh.
And you understood.
It was very easy. I kind of just, so that's what you can do. Also, they have consultation hours. Maybe you can go to their office or email if that's your option. But it would be better if you just listen to him tell you. So, yeah.
So how does one student actually like build a relationship with lecturers? For example, like the lecturer must know you, like you are his guy, you are his gal, to understand like, okay, I can do this, consult.
Consult as many times as you can because the more you consult, the more they get familiar with you and they see your passion for this. They see how much you really want to do well in this course. That's the way you can create a relationship with them. They see that, oh, this student is really determined, and that way you get to have a relationship with your lecturers. Yeah.
Have you ever been overwhelmed before?
Yes.
Like you wanted to give up?
Yes, I actually gave up on this other test. I was like, you know what? at this point I'm gonna fail this test. And I was like, come, I'm gonna fail you. So I kind of gave up the night before, and yeah, I really didn't do good on that test. So yeah, there's a times where I feel overwhelmed and I'm like, I'm giving up.
And what did you do to try to alleviate that actually?
When I realized that I've given up, and I kind of realized what led me to give, I want to understand what led me to giving up. And once I find that problem, I make sure the next test that's coming, I have to work hard because I have a mistake to rectify from my previous. And after I have failed that test, I know it's very hard. I still go to the lecture with that bad mark, and I'm like, I really want to improve. Can you make me understand how can I have done it? Like, can you correct me? Or even if they give me the memo, it's fine, because I know I'll be able to understand, oh, my mistake was this and was that. So I make sure that I understand what I failed and understand what led me to giving up and being
The
overwhelmed.
mistake that you made. To come to
Exactly,
it.
so I can rectify that. And in my next coming text, I'm doing better. So, yeah.
So according to you, what are like the toxic behaviors that actually cause those overwhelming moments, you know, to you to be like, you want to give up? Like, what leads to it?
I think it's trying to juggle a lot of work at once. Those are the toxic behaviors we think we have. Another thing, you leave your work until the night before. That doesn't work. Maybe for some people it really does, and you want to cross night.
Because almost the same. You hear some people say, I work well under pressure, Maybe it won't work for you.
Maybe it will work for you. But another thing I've realized is when you cross night, you kind of need to sleep, because that's when your brain is able to sink in the information. When you're cross-nighting and you're waking up, you're going to study, you're going to write, or maybe you didn't even sleep, you're just directly going to write, chances are you're going to forget. You're going to forget because your brain didn't have time to sink in the information. So I would say that one of the toxic behaviors is wanting to finish the work the night before, the whole of the work the night before. So.
And trying to study, like, for example, you're writing tomorrow, and now you're trying to study in like 4 hours, cross night and drinking a Red Bull.
Something that needs 16 hours you want to do.
That's crazy.
You want to do in less hours. So yeah, I would say that's very toxic. It's not even good for your health, neither your brain, because now you're putting your brain under pressure.
And sleep is important.
It's very important if you're going to write. So yeah.
So if I'm gonna ask you, well, like, what industry do you hope to work in after you finish your computer science and mathematics degree?
I really want to analyze and interpret data. That's the industry that I'm looking forward to. A lot of my friends or people in this course will tell me, I want to be in software development. Maybe they want to be a software engineer, a web developer, a mobile app developer, be that. But for me, I realized that I never had the programming background from high school. I only knew what are codes on my first year, what is coding, what is programming on my first year. That is a disadvantage. Hence, I'm saying for somebody who's really wanting to pursue this degree, and maybe they don't have CAT in their high school, like I didn't have, or they don't have any programming subject in their high school, I would say that they need to kind of start now on their programming skills. Get to understand what are codes, get to understand programming, you know. So when you get to varsity, you're not overwhelmed. You're not like, I don't know what is this, I don't know how to do this. Because even now, on my third year, I'm still kind of fighting my programming skills to be good, because I never had that background. So I have to put a lot of work compared to somebody who has the background. So what I'm hoping to get into after this, basically data science. I'm taking that road because I want something that will enable me to do what I love, which is the theory part of this course. I want to analyze, being to interpret data and help organizations make informed decisions. Something. Maybe I've really considered cybersecurity once, because I was like, I mean, it's not really that. It's cool. It's really cool. But I was like, I think I'm much more into data science than I am into software development, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. I kind of realized I want this, which is the data science. So that's what I'm hoping for.
So are you going to go further with your education, like honors, masters, PhD, potentially PhD?
I don't know about PhD, but masters, yeah, I would want. Yeah, I really want to go there. So yeah.
So would you advise other students to go there as well?
I mean, they can get a job with honors. They can get a job and get to work with just honors. So it really depends on what they want. Do you want to go work directly after, or do you want to pursue more? Do you want to know more and see where it can go? Yeah.
So from your first year to now, when you look at your journey? How do you feel?
I feel proud of myself, if
Yeah.
I could be honest, because there's a lot of challenges in this degree, and like I said, it was really hard for me, even because I never had the background, so it was kind of very hard for me. So yeah, I'm really proud of myself for coming this far.
So
Yeah.
have you did you predict that you were going to be in the situation where you are now, or
Not really, not really. I didn't quite know, but
just uncertainty?
exactly. So I'm really proud of myself.
So, looking back, what advice would you give to people who aspire to join computer science? For example, our current grade 11 students, grade 12 students, or anyone?
I wouldn't say anybody inspired me, but I would say that I don't know. I'm sticking on to the background of programming. The advice that I would give them is, if they really want to do this course, it's worth it. It's really worth it. It's fun to do, very hard, if some may say, but it's also enjoyable. And make sure that you really have the background. I'm emphasizing on that because it was really tough for me because of that. So yeah.
Okay. And that's advice worth hearing, by the way. It is worth hearing, by the way.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Gudani, we've reached the end of our podcast now.
Yes.
It was very wonderful having you here.
Thank
Sharing
you.
your inside knowledge was really great. And I hope other people at home watching this don't understand and, take it into consideration.
Yes.
So, by the way, we have a closing tradition in this podcast now,
Okay.
whereby the guest has to leave a quote for the viewers at home.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. My quote will be, in everything that you do, it's pretty much famous. In everything that you do, just make sure that you put God first. Because then you know who you are, and you know where you stand. You're able to have faith and know that I have God, and everything that I can do is really possible. So that's my quote for everyone.
That's a wonderful quote, by the way. Trust God. Put God
Trust
in
God,
everything that
put
you
Him
do,
first. Because one thing you don't want to do is think you can do by yourself. So yeah.
That was real wonderful, by the way. It's beyond
Thank you.
comprehension.
Thank
I hope
you.
everybody heard at home, man.